Well, it was a couple of weeks ago, Blake, and Grady says to me, "You know who we haven't talked to in a while that we need to talk to?" I said, "Who's that?" He said, "The Hall of Famer,
This guy.
Tony Gallagher,
Oh, you guys.
who joins us now from his abode in Kitsilano. Tony, how you doing?
I'm well, and we're all well here, and it's great to be with you guys again. It really is an honor to do so, and I'm so glad you guys are finally meeting with some genuine success in your endeavors, and I just wish you all the best of luck because the environment has changed so radically and so objectionably in many ways, and the fact that you guys have landed on your feet is absolutely heartwarming. So, good luck.
Very kind of you, Tony, and you're quite right. Blake and I started doing this show in November 2011, so shortly thereafter.
Made a habit of talking to this guy.
Of course, had Tony on for years. Had a little bit of residual success there. They won the President's Trophy in our first year, and then the dark days started, Tone. And, I don't need to tell you about long stretches of Canucks teams being not very competitive. And
no, I actually was doing the beat, and they were 15 years under 500. 15 consecutive years under 500. But many of those years were actually fairly competitive, and they made the playoffs because in those days, they didn't have all these high point totals. So you could be under 500 and still make the playoffs. And they did that about 7 or 8 years, but usually it was one round and goodbye. And I think the 82 year was one of the years they were under 500, but I think they finished with 78 points and got to the final. And so that went on. That sort of thing could happen. So you could still have an exciting year and be under 500. But it was a long stretch of pretty inept. I mean, some of the years were really bad as well. So
you got some good ones though, and you did cover you covered the 15 one, right? The last time the Canucks hosted home playoff games, you were still covering the team at that point.
Yeah, I was. I retired in just shortly after that, and obviously the playoff year when they were in Edmonton will hold up, and 20 teams made the playoffs. I really don't count that. I mean, I don't count them as a strike against them or for them, but it was kind of a weird year. And then they went on that little run, and I think everyone was excited about it, but it was strictly a TV event, and no one found out whether, Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson could really could stand up to targeting in a playoff environment, because there was really no hitting in that. I mean, there were 7 and 8 penalties a night. It was like preseason hockey because it was in a studio, no fans, quiet. And so the officials kind of called it like it was a preseason game. And there was a tremendous amount of power plays, which really helped the Canucks go on that mini run. But so this will be a really good look at this team. And I think we're all looking forward to it, because really what they've done has been nothing short of amazing. When you go from missing the playoffs by 12 points, or I guess you could say 13 legalistically, but missing by 12 points to essentially first overall, that's pretty astounding.
What are you made of the season? What's stood out to your eye this year, Tony, as you've watched the Canucks?
Well, first of all, the success in which they had in essentially evacuating 2/3 of their roster, bringing in a second 2/3, and having it all work out so wonderfully, stunningly well, is part luck, part genius. I think, the way the pieces have fit together. I mean, Roenick is a classic example. Granted, it's easy to play with Quinn Hughes. But he's putting in 24 minutes, and for a guy that was kissed off by a team playing essentially 23, 24 minutes a night and playing as well as he had, plus contributing 45 points to the total. I mean, things like that don't really happen, and they're happening here with alarming regularity.
And the role players too, as you talked about, with that, like the Dakota Joshua stuff.
How do you let Dakota Joshua go? How do you look at that body, look what he can do, and let him escape from your clutches? I don't understand that. I mean, you work with a guy for 10 years to bring it out. If it takes 10 years, you're still a winner. I don't know. That's lost on me.
And then veterans like Teddy Bluger too. Everybody thought they knew what Teddy Bluger was, and here he is, sort of rejuvenating himself again. So you're right. I mean, it is part luck, because I don't think you expect the royal flush there when you sign, a bunch of free agents like that. And literally every single one of them has hit for the most part. So you can't expect that every year, can you? And that's why now people are already looking past. We still got a playoff season to go here, Tony, but there's already news now about trying to sign these guys that were all astutely signed to one-year deals. We praised it at the time, Tony, because of the overcommitment of the prior management group, and now you're kind of wishing they had committed at least 2 years to some of these role players.
Well, this is it. I mean, you want to play it safe in one way, and then, I mean, who expects a bonanza like this for everything to turn up roses the way it has? And I have to caution people right now. I do not follow the game as closely as I used to, and I want to make that proviso. I'll probably make some blunders here, but it just worked out so well, and now it's backfired, and they're going to have some issues, but the salary cap is expanding. They have the Pettersson deal done, albeit for high dollars, and they'll have to try and fit it in as best possible, and maybe they won't be able to hang on to everybody, but that's why it would be nice if they can really have some success this year.
Tony, 21 coaches and the head coaches in the history of the Vancouver Canucks, 2 Jack Adams Awards, Alain Vigneault in 06, 07, Pat Quinn in 91, 92. You covered them both. But I ask you, sir, Rick Tocchet this year, is this the best coaching job you have seen from a Vancouver?
Well, I mean, you have to give him a heaping helping of the hospitality, as it were, not to quote a jingle, but which I just did. But obviously they've had tremendous success, and they've done exactly what we just described. Went from 12 points out of the playoffs to essentially number one. Where they finish, who doesn't matter now. Who cares? They're home and cooled out. And so obviously it's been a phenomenal job putting the pieces together, getting them all on the same page, having everybody work as hard as they are every night. It's heartening to see. And, I think he's got to win Coach of the Year. I can't imagine who wins it out over him, and he will have earned it. And that's terrific to see a guy come out of a TV studio onto the scene and know immediately what to do with a group of newly assembled players. It's nothing short of jaw-dropping.
How has the craft changed, though? Because you used to see rough and tumble players, and Pat Quinn was certainly amongst them, and become rough and tumble coaches. And here we have Rick Tocchet playing from the Broad Street Bullies, and he played a tough brand of hockey. But Tony, he doesn't seem to be the rough and tumble coach. He's figured out the right path, that narrow path of being accountable, but also making sure the players feel like he's on their side as well. It's been a master class in that regard.
Well, it has been. That's an excellent point, Blake. And you can often see Rick standing behind the bench, shaking his head, saying, I can't believe what the game's come to, but I accept it, and we're going to play that way. You see Elias Pettersson go to the front of the net, and he stands there, and he watches the puck go back and forth, and this guy, 170 pounds, is standing in front of the net. No one is touching him. They're just standing right beside him saying, hello, Elias, how are you doing? Are you looking for a rebound, maybe a deflection? Yes, well, feel free. Go right ahead, because they can't touch him. Could you imagine what Darian Hatcher and Richard Matvechuk would have done to Elias Pettersson in the old days? The game has changed so much that it's mind-boggling, and it has to be mind-boggling to talk it. But he's rolled with the punches. I'm sure he shakes his head every time he blows the whistle sometimes, but he's managed it, and it's worked out wonderfully well for them.
Thought we were getting close to a hologram there, Tony, with Elias in front of the net.
Well, have you noticed how comfortable he is there? Everybody goes there now. It takes no jam to go there. It's just dead simple.
Quinn Hughes.
Oh.
A word or two about Quinn Hughes, because I think we could, and I think this was obvious some time ago, that we're looking at the best defenseman in the history of this club.
Oh, without question, yeah. I think Jyrki Lumme would be the first to say that, or many other candidates who may have been close to that. It's extraordinary to watch him, isn't it? He just skates away from whomever he wishes to skate away from at any time. Now, it will be interesting in the playoffs to watch some teams dump it in the corner, go after him and try and hit him. And they'll hope there's retribution taken and that it results in a power play. Obviously, Pettersson's going to be targeted as well. I mean, they're both not the biggest guys in the world, but when it comes to Hughes, how do you hit him? He vanishes like
that's it.
Vapor. He's just gone. Maybe teams will try it one game to see how we can do it. And if we can get a couple of hits on him, fair enough. If not, they'll abandon it, I'm sure. So, Quinn needs to be very fresh and ready to go. First 2 games of the series to get away from that. And if he's able to shake it, I think they'll evacuate the plan.
It's a good point, because if they miss, it's odd man rush the other way immediately, right? Because that guy's committed and he's on the end boards, and Quinn Hughes has left him in the dust. So you're right. It's gonna and he's more elusive than most, though, right? Unlike,
ridiculously so.
Like Elias Pettersson doesn't have that ability to.
No.
He's not the skater that Quinn Hughes is. So I think you got a legit worry with Pettersson. I think there's a good chance that Hughes is able to withstand the playoff rigor.
Yeah, I really don't know what he weighs anymore either, because he appears to be much more sturdy than he ever was when he first came into the league and was first getting knocked around a fair bit. I mean, he likes to go after hits. So he's got a bit of Peter Forsberg in him too, so where he kind of looks for things, not with the puck, the way Forsberg used to go after hits when he actually carried the puck. But he's not afraid of the shy stuff. So can he stand up? I mean, and if they bang him, they'd like to kind of not try to injure, but knock him off stride a bit and get him injured, get him out of a game or two. That would be the goal, just to bump him and get him off his game a little bit. But he's easier to hit. Yeah, no question about it. Hughes is about the most difficult target in hockey right now.
JT Miller. What do you make of JT Miller when you watch
Phenomenal season. I mean, just phenomenal. Everyone thought, well, this guy, maybe it's a big gamble to sign him to the long-term deal. He's maybe going to put his feet up after a couple of years. Well, maybe he will, but these first 2 years have been blistering, nothing short of amazing. And if he gives you 1/3 the effort that he's been giving this year, then you'll be still very happy with him.
Tony, we all remember the exhilarating hockey played in the 1980s with all those goals and goals from distance. Guys like Fleur, Bossy getting one step inside of the blue line and unleashing in the top corner. But have you ever seen the actual game itself be better in terms of the way guys skate and the way guys handle the puck these days?
No, clearly. The new rules have allowed the more skilled guy to flourish, and the tougher player has been phased out. So you're getting just a ton more skill. And now, granted, the rules really permit so much more. They allow you to do and try way more than you used to. You have to have you can have your head down crossing the blue line a lot. You can do a lot of crazy things that you used not to be able to do. So I think that's added to the ability to exercise the skill that you have that some of the older players may have had as well, but just didn't have the environment whereby they could do it. So, but at times, while this has been an electric year for Canuck fans, let's face it, the game can be pretty boring sometimes too. You can get tired of skill. You can have long stretches of no shots, because they're either overpassing or worried that they can't possibly beat the goalie from where they are. So they try something, they lose the puck. it's a trade-off. I mean, there's no emotion allowed in the game. The officials, the moment the slightest emotion comes into a game, they clamp down on it. So, but skill, is very prominent, and it's great to watch.
Let's just hope the Canucks don't face the Kings in the first round, because
boy,
a boring first round playoff series.
That passive 1-3-1 that they play.
Well, they do sit in it, don't they?
Oh gosh, they've got discipline. I'll give them that.
And then their fans sit there and boo the visitors.
Yeah, well,
trying to move against it. Like Quinn Hughes is holding the puck, and he's getting. I assume he's getting booed, and not the home fans. Maybe they are booing the home team.
Wow,
I know they would be in Vancouver. I would assume that the booing is against the home team.
But the Canucks had the lead in that game, too.
And Tony, of all markets to play that, I mean, this is LA, showtime. People have some entertainment options.
It ain't showtime. Sorry about that, It's trap time.
What do you think this city's going to look like? Do we remember how to do playoffs, Tony? It has been so long. What do you think this city's going to look like come playoff time?
Well, I don't know. Are we looking at Riot 2024?
Oh, gosh.
Please, no,
one way or another. I mean,
please, no, Tony. Tell us the politicians and police have learned the lesson.
Well, get ready. That's a possibility.
Hey.
But they haven't gotten that far yet. Let's get them out of the first round. Anything could happen. They have a very good team. They're very aggressive. I think they're suited to playoff hockey. They have a nice enough mix to stand up physically to other teams. And I guess it's how Mr. Demko fares against his opponent, and that a lot of those turnovers that appeared in the Canucks game last night don't reappear in crucial situations during the playoffs.
Demko's not going to be able to touch Luongo's wins record, is he, in a season? Because he's never going to play 76 times like Roberto did.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. I mean, although his load hasn't been crushing this year, I think he's well suited to go into the playoffs, getting a bit of a respite now, and assuming he bounces back and gets into form, which can be questionable. It sometimes is hard to find your best immediately. So, but I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's had such a good year. He's very confident, and there's no reason he can't be outstanding in the playoffs.
Last question for you, Tone, because you're how many years in retirement now?
Almost 10.
Oh, 7 or 8. Yeah.
7 or 8.
Get me off before the blunder is too big.
Hey, he tried to tell us that he's not paying attention, and then
he's
gave
been
us
letter perfect.
20 minutes of absolutely paying attention. But 7, 8 years in retirement now. Canucks first time back in the playoffs, the real playoffs, for 9 years since 2015. Susan, your boys, their wives, grandchildren, when they all come together to watch the playoffs, Tony Gallagher gonna be rooting for the Canucks. You can have your jersey on, Tony, pulling for the home team, because I know
I'd like to see it before I pass. The blessed event, whether I will or not, I don't know. It would be nice, and it's a nice bunch of guys too. I mean, I don't know many of the players very well anymore, but the guys I do know are all terrific. I really miss Bo Horvat not being on this team and having what happened to him. I mean, I know he wanted to leave, and he made the call, and he made the wrong call. And I really liked Bo, but I mean, Elias and Mr. Miller and, the guys I do know are all wonderful people. Rick Tocchet and Adam Foote are great guys. And I would just love to see them have some success. They've had success in their lives before, in their hockey lives before, and it's time for Vancouver. And maybe that's the theme this year from the NHL office. Make sure Vancouver wins the cup. So, because what's been happening has been astounding, truly miraculous, and why not let the miracle continue?
I mean, if you're writing scripts, though, shouldn't they want McDavid to hoist the chalice? I mean, they might, if they're writing narratives at all, wouldn't that be the narrative to write? Give the best player. When is the
last time that the commissioner, Mr. Bettman, wrote a small market Canadian team hosting the trophy, Blake?
Right.
No matter who's on the roster.
It's never happened before.
At least Vancouver's a sizable market team.
There you go. There you go.
So they have a sniff of a chance.
Mm-hmm. Tony, it's been wonderful catching up. Great to hear your voice. I know our listeners will tell us that. Great to see you here on the YouTube side of things. Appreciate this. Best to Susan, the kids, grandkids, and we'll catch up soon here.
Well, thank you both so much. You're all entirely too kind to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.